Entry-level job postings in the U.S. dropped 35% since January 2023. That number comes from Revelio Labs, a labor research firm cited by CNBC, not a think piece, not a pessimist on social media, documented labor market data. And if you're a 2025 or 2026 graduate sitting with a resume that says everything it was supposed to say, that number is not about someone else. It's about you. Here's what this video is going to do. First, explain the specific mechanism behind that number. Not AI is changing everything, but exactly which part of entry-level work disappeared and why. Second, name what's actually working for the candidates who are breaking through right now. Third, give you 3 concrete positioning moves you can start on this week. Not someday, this week. The situation is real. The map out of it is also real. Let's be precise about this. So what actually happened? And where does it leave you? Here is the thing that almost no one covering this story is saying clearly enough. I did not walk into an office and fire a class of 2025 graduates. What it did was more specific. And once you understand the specificity, the path forward becomes legible. Every entry-level role in the old pipeline was built around a particular kind of work: bounded tasks, repetitive tasks, high-volume, low-ambiguity tasks. You took the data, ran the analysis, formatted the report, routed the request. You did it to learn the business from the ground up. And the company tolerated your learning curve because the output you produced while on that curve, the actual work, was worth the investment. Generative AI automated that task profile, not the whole job. The task profile that justified hiring someone who didn't know anything yet. When I can produce the formatted report, generate the first draft, process the queue, the financial case for the learning curve disappears. Goldman Sachs data showed that between late 2022 and mid-2025, employment for workers aged 22 to 25 in the most AI-exposed roles fell roughly 20%. Meanwhile, employment for older workers in the same roles grew. That is not a coincidence. That is the mechanism. Senior employees got more productive because I handled the bounded work they used to delegate. Junior employees became, in the short term, optional. Here is the counterintuitive part. The graduates who are getting callbacks right now are not necessarily smarter, more credentialed, or better connected. They are positioned differently, and the positioning difference is specific enough that you can replicate it. That is what the rest of this video is going to map. But before we get to that, there's one more piece of the mechanism worth naming, because it's the part that makes the job search feel personally broken, even when it isn't. It's called experience inflation, and it's the reason you can apply to something called an entry-level role and get rejected for not having enough experience. Here is what the data shows. Roughly 35% of positions currently labeled entry-level require prior relevant work experience. In software and IT, that number is above 60%. More than 60% of roles labeled entry-level require 3 or more years of experience. Even customer service, historically the most accessible rung on the ladder, now averages a requirement of nearly 2 years. The term entry-level no longer means what it was designed to mean. It has become code for junior compensation, mid-level expectations. And that is why the standard application playbook isn't working. The playbook was built for a pipeline that assumed you would be hired, trained, and given time to develop on the job. That pipeline has 2 compounding problems right now. Problem 1, the gray ceiling. Older workers are staying in senior roles longer, which means the upward mobility that used to pull junior people up through an organization is slowed. The ladder still exists. Fewer people are moving on the rungs above you. Problem 2, AI is handling the ramp-up tasks that used to make you worth hiring at the bottom. When I can produce the first draft, run the initial analysis, and process the queue, you are not optional because you're unqualified. You're optional because the specific work that justified your presence has been automated before you arrived. The candidates breaking through have something in common. They are not competing on credentials. They are competing on demonstrated output. They arrive with proof, not a degree, proof. And that distinction between a credential as proxy for capability and a portfolio as direct evidence of capability is the entire reorientation this video is pointing toward. The math was never hidden. Nobody just showed it to you. Here are 3 specific positioning moves. These are drawn from what the data and the hiring patterns of 2025 and 2026 actually show. Not theory, not inspiration, not the generic, just upskill advice that has been failing people for 2 years. Move 1. AI fluency as a layered skill signal, not a buzzword. In 2024, the majority of job postings that required AI skills, 51%, were outside the tech sector. The signal employers are reading is not, "Can you talk about AI?" It is, "Can you use it to produce output that a human working without it couldn't produce as fast or as well?" The candidates getting responses are the ones who have used AI tools on real problems and can show the result, not a certificate that says AI fundamentals. A project that demonstrates what they did with those fundamentals. That is the distinction. The tool is not the credential. The output is. Move 2. Portfolio as proof, replacing credential as proxy. The degree was always a proxy. It was the most efficient way for employers to screen for demonstrated capability when there was no better system. There is now a better system. It's called the portfolio. Industry experience and demonstrated proficiencies are among the top factors considered by employers in the NACE Job Outlook 2026 survey, ranked above GPA, above institution attended. What that means for you is this. The document that proves you can do the work is more powerful than the document that proves you attended 4 years of instruction about the work. And here's the part that is more specific than most people realize. Move 3. Targeting the organizational size and geography, the algorithm is missing. Labor market data shows that while major tech hubs have seen the steepest hiring declines, secondary markets, Nashville, Detroit, Atlanta, have shown measurable resilience. Smaller companies and startups are absorbing early career candidates at higher rates than large firms because they cannot afford to be as selective, and because junior employees at a small company are not optional, they are operational. Here is the reframe that matters. The credential was never the point. The proof of capability was always the point. The degree was a delivery mechanism for that proof, an expensive, time-consuming, debt-generating delivery mechanism that the market used because nothing better existed at scale. Something better exists now, and the people who understand that are not starting over. They are starting faster, at a fraction of the cost, with proof the market can actually use. If this opened a direction you want to pursue with a full system behind it, the specific sequence from where you are now to interview ready. The Credential-Free Career Accelerator in the description is exactly that. It covers identity reframe, career selection, skill building sequence, portfolio construction, job search strategy, and salary negotiation, built specifically for the alternative path. Not a course that tells you what to do. A system that shows you the order to do it in. Link is in the description. Now let's make this concrete, because the 3 moves only matter if the first step is small enough to take this week, not someday. Here is what the first 30 days actually looks like for someone making this reorientation. Week 1. Pick one problem in a domain you understand, a workflow, a research question, a data set, and use an AI tool to work through it, not to practice the tool. To produce an output. The output becomes the first portfolio piece. It does not need to be impressive. It needs to be real. A real project with a clear problem, a visible process, and a specific result demonstrates more capability than a resume line that says proficient in AI tools. Week 2. Put it somewhere findable. Not just a folder on your desktop. GitHub, a Notion page, a PDF. In the featured section of LinkedIn, the project is only proof if someone can see it. This is the part most people skip, and it is the entire mechanism by which AI-assisted candidate screening misses good candidates. The algorithm surfaces are the people who made themselves surfaceable. Week 3. Target smaller. Search for companies with under 250 employees in your domain. Not because big companies are bad, but because at a 50-person company, your portfolio piece gets looked at by a human. At a 5,000-person company, it may never clear an automated filter. Your first role is not your last role. It is your first proof of employment. The goal is a context where your output matters to the organization's actual function, not a headcount slot in a hiring cycle designed for volume. Week 4. Make contact directly. Not always through the job posting. A short message to a department head or founder. Here is what I built. Here is the problem it solves. Here is why I want to work on this. Converts at a measurable rate higher than a cold application, because a cold application is a credential comparison exercise. A direct message with a visible portfolio is a capability demonstration. Here is the objection this raises. Isn't this just learn to code repackaged? Another piece of content that tells me to upskill and leaves me exactly where I started? No, and here's the specific reason. The output is the credential. Learning to code and saying so on a resume is a credential claim. Building something that works, that solves a real problem, and showing it, that is direct proof. The distinction matters because the credential claim goes into a pile. The direct proof starts a conversation. If you want the full system, not just the principle, the link in the description takes you to the Credential-Free Career Accelerator. It is the structured version of everything in this video, built for people who are ready to move and need a sequence, not just a direction. Drop a comment with the specific moment when the conventional job search stopped making sense for you and what triggered that realization. Here is what to carry out of this video. The 35% decline in entry-level postings is not a verdict on your capability. It is a structural disruption in the task profile that defined entry-level work, a disruption that arrived after you enrolled while you were doing exactly what you were told. You were not wrong to follow the path. You were given bad information about where it led. And now you have the actual information. The entry-level pipeline as it existed is not coming back in the form it had. But the need for early career talent is not gone. It has relocated. It has moved from credential sorting to output verification. From which school did you attend to what have you actually built? That shift is not a problem for the people who understand it. It is an opening. The next time someone asks why the job search isn't working, a parent, a friend, anyone who still believes the old pipeline is just slow to open up again, you now have a more precise answer than, I don't know. You can tell them, the pipeline changed. The task profile that defined entry-level work was automated. The credential is no longer the proof of capability the market needs, and you are building the proof that is. That is not a defeat. That is the clearest possible picture of where the door is. You were right to question the path that got you here. Now you know where the next one starts. Keep going.